Hi. In this video, we will try to understand what are the descriptive statistics, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and z-scores. And also we will create measures. And finally, we will try to create a report page that reflects everything. On the screen, you can see what is standard deviation. And standard deviation will tell us how the data is deviates from the mean. And it has a formula. And the steps are you find the mean, subtract the mean from each value. In our case, our data point is the total steps, and also square each deviation, add the squared deviations, and divide the sum by the number of values. And that is when we get the variance. And finally, once we do all that part, we will try to take the square root of the result from step 5. That will give us a standard deviation. Why do we do this? Standard deviation will help us in understanding our data, right? So it tells us, for example, we have a set of data, and if there is a low standard deviation, we can predict future values with greater accuracy. And if it is not, then our predictions will be less accurate. And the formulas are given here. And again, this will tell us the data, how much the data deviates from the mean. So that is the definition of standard deviation. And we will use the native function which is available for us in DAX to create standard deviation. Again, to reiterate, standard deviation tells us how much the data deviates from the mean, and it is calculated by finding the difference between each data point and the mean, squaring the differences, adding them together, dividing the number of data points, and then taking the square root. In our case, we will try to find out the total steps. We'll use that column to find out the standard deviation, mean, mode, and also z-scores. And once we do that, we will create a report page which has all those measures. As you can see on the screen, z-scores. Z-scores tell us how many standard deviations a data point is from the mean. And again, these two are kind of related, standard deviation and z-scores, that both measure the spread of a set of a data, right? And how much they are far apart from the mean. The standard deviation tells us how much the data deviates from the mean, while the z-scores tells us how many standard deviations a data point is from the mean. And the formula is also given here. So z-scores, in other words, it says that how many standard deviations a score is above or below the mean. And like I said, we will create a report page that will show all these measures, and we'll also include z-scores in the tools tip. And you can pause the video and read up about z-scores and standard deviation. I'm just highlighting the definitions here. And z-scores are also used to standardize data and make comparison between different sets of data. So in case we have different sets of data, we can compare them. And that is very useful in a real world. So once we understand this concept, I think we can probably go to the next step of creating measures. Prior to creating the measures, let us briefly look at our data model. This is the data model. There is a Fitbit's dataset and also the calendar table and other tables too. But today we will try to focus on one of the columns in our Fitbit steps dataset, which is total steps. So we will try to use that column and try to calculate mode, median, standard deviation, z-scores, etc. So this is the column which I was talking about, total steps. Let us start creating the measures. So we can use the native function which is available for us. Let us try to create mean, and we will use the calculate function, and we will try to use average x iterative function, and we'll pass the calendar table as a table first argument, and we want to find out the total steps, right? We will add that, and also we will add all selected. Once we are happy with this, we will commit to it, and the mean is ready for us. And similarly, once we have the mean, we will go on to calculate median and other measures too. But for now, let us try to drag that onto the report page, and we will try to kind of format it and make sure that all the labels and also the callout values are in the center. And it is up to us, right, how to kind of format our visual. So in this case, quickly I'm showing you how you can do it. So we are using the new card visuals, and next we will calculate the median, right? We will try to copy the same code, but before we do that, let us try to go back to the table view. This is the table view, and let us try to select a particular date range. And in this case, we will try to use a custom filter, and we will select a particular range. So let us try to use January 2021, first through 31. And also let us try to sort the total steps from ascending lower to higher. And once we have that, we will look at like I said, we'll sort it from lowest value to highest value. And once we have that, we are ready. And as you can see, median and the formula is n plus 1 by 2. In January, there are 31 days. So 31 plus 1 by 2, that means the 16th position is the median. So now that we have understood that concept, let us go ahead and use the same formula which I've used, copy and paste here. And instead of average x, we'll swap it out to median x, and we have the median ready. So let us try to commit to it. And once we commit, we have the median measure ready. Let us try to add that to our new cards visual field place, and try to kind of format it. And let us try to make sure that display units are none. And we have the median. Again, imagine this is for the total population. Again, for the mode, there is no native function which is available for us. So let us try to create this particular measure right from ground up, and we can add columns, and we will use the values of particular total steps, and the name will be the frequency. And once we have that, we want to calculate the total steps, right? So once we do that, close the parenthesis, and if you run this, we have a table, nothing fancy here. We have those values appearing in the two columns. Let us try to count, because we want to count the frequency, right? Mode is the most frequently occurring value in the data set. So let us try to use a calculate and count and close it. Now we have a frequency. We have a column on the left, which is the total steps, and we have the frequency too. So there could be more than one values. That is what we are trying to find. So what we can do is we can wrap everything around top and function. We want to grab the first value, and let us try to add our frequency there, and let us try to use the descending so that we get highest from to lowest. As you can see, there are repeated values here, and we want to grab the highest total steps value from it. So all we have to do is wrap everything around max function, max x, and wrap it, and try to close the parenthesis. That is a table which is required as first parameter. And second parameter, we have the total steps. Close the parenthesis and wrap everything around a table constructor, because this is not a table. So obviously we need to wrap everything around the table constructor, curly braces. Once we do that, we have the mode. 8165 is the mode value. Let us quickly go to the table view and look at 8165. That is a maximum value. Even though there are more occurring values, we want to grab the maximum value. Like I said, this is not relevant in our data, but I thought I'll show you how to calculate mode. Let us try to add that, or maybe no. Let us try to copy the code from the DAX query view and create a measure. And if needed, we will use this in any of the card visuals, but I feel that it is not relevant. So I just created a measure. We'll just keep it aside and leave it there. Or maybe drag it onto the canvas, onto the new card visual. And similarly, we can also do that display units. And I'm kind of doing some formatting to save time. I'm kind of speeding up things and make sure that it is visually it should look good, right? I'll always say, it is up to us how to do it. The next is the standard deviation. We know the formula, and but also we have a native function which is available here. We can use this StDev x.p, and it expects a table and an expression. So first a table, we will try to give our Fitbit's steps dataset, and we want to calculate the total steps, right? So that will be the expression. And also we'll use all select, so that like I said, we want to use a slicer up top in the report page, so that those we can use a slicer, and the values keep changing there too. So let us try to drag that onto the new card visual and do the regular format. And it is up to us how to format, but I wanted to make sure that it looks good visually too. So we have all those measures which we have created: mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. And up top, let us try to drag month year column from our calendar table, and try to make sure that it looks good. Again, make all the changes. Whenever user selects any kind of month, it changes. I have gone ahead and did some kind of formatting. So we have that. And finally, this is the final measure which we are going to create, the z-scores. If you remember, z-scores tells us how many standard deviations a data point is from the mean. So formula is data point minus mean divided by the standard deviation. So that way we have the z-scores too. And once we have that, we will try to add that to our new card visual. So we are ready with all the 5 measures, but I thought we'll add one more visual to this report page. So that way we have a slicer on top, and we have all those measures which we have created, the values in the new card visual. And also, if there is any visual on the left hand side to the card visuals, I think that way it will be good. Like I said, if user selects any of those values, it will change. Let us try to use the line and clustered column. For now, let us try to add the date to the x-axis, and to the y-axis we can add the total steps. As we all know, in the line and clustered column chart, we have a column y-axis and also line y-axis. Let us first try to add some color to our columns. We can separately create a measure so that we have a conditional measure which is applied to this visual. Or in this case, I'm just using a standard gradient. I'm taking the total steps and I'm adding a middle value too, so that I wanted the visual to pop up where different colors. So visually also it will look good. Once we have that, we have the visual ready. So and next is we want to, since we have already calculated all the measures, what we could do is we want to see uh, how many standard deviations a data point is from the mean, right? For now, what we could do is we can use one standard deviation. So this is the formula, calculate. And what we want to calculate is we want to give an expression, right? So we will as plus one standard deviation. The formula we know that mean plus standard deviation. That means this if this measure is added to the line y-axis, that will tell you if a data point is if it is 1 standard deviation away from the mean or not. If the data has that, it will be is shown. Similarly, if the standard deviation is 1 standard deviation below the mean, we can reverse that, and mean minus standard deviation will give us if it is a below point. So now that we have created those two, what we could do is we can drag them, and we will try to put them between the mean, so that you have your +1 standard deviation and -1 if it is under or over the mean. So that way I've gone ahead and made changes, the data labels and as such. And in case if you need, you can make further changes too. For now, I made all these changes. I have changed the lines also to dashed. The visual, you can see there is mean and also 1 standard deviation of the value is there, that keeps changing dynamically. As you can see, the user is selecting certain values. If I select some values, those things are changed. And also, we know that z-score will tell you how many standard deviations um, part the data point is. So what I've done is that the z-score I've added to the tooltip. So if you hover over any point, it will show you not only the total steps, it also tell you how many standard deviations the data point is from the mean. So you can see that hovering over this. So we can always do one thing. We can select probably a month. Here, let me just go ahead and select a month. Let us try to bring the calculator, and let us try to hover over that point. It says 16755, 16755, and then we will we know the mean as 8093. We will subtract mean from that and divide by the standard deviation. So that will give us 3.54. That is a formula. I think our code is good. It is working perfectly. Again, mind you, these are different days. And as you can see, all those values, whenever you select any kind of make selections on the slicer, all those values will also change. I think this is a new way to look at our data. And thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.